Today is December 26, 2014, and we're here with MaryEllen Dohrs, who at the time she worked at General Motors was known as MaryEllen Green. And tell me, how did you get your job at General Motors? Describe.
I was an industrial design student at Pratt Institute under Alexander Costello, the head of the department. And I was the only girl in the industrial design program. I don't think there was one before me, too. I was probably a pioneer there.
Wow.
And Costello was from Persia, and he would greet the class, boys and girls. And anyway,
that's funny.
I was the only one, and so when the request from GM came in to Costello, he was their point man for design, and they said, "Well, we want a female, a woman designer. What have you got?" "Well, I got one." So actually, they asked for a resume and that sort of thing for me. And I got my letter being hired in May, and I graduated in June.
Amazing.
So I had a jobs first off, and then drove to Detroit.
And you were the only lady in that office.
Yeah.
So how did the guys take to you?
Well, they would take great pleasure in embarrassing me. The crazy thing was that I was only 20 when I came to work for GM. Well, personnel said, "Sorry, we can't sign you in because if you signed the papers, you couldn't sign. Your mother would have to sign you in, and that would not be good." So even though I was working there from June until September when I became 20, I had no contract. I was technically not an employee. I was paid, but I was technically not an employee until I signed the papers, and that was September of 1950. So June, July, and August was there without a signature. And so I was paid less than my colleagues in my own class who went to GM and so forth. I can tell you, they were paid $105 a week. I was paid $68
For the same job.
for the same job. And so that policy was totally different. I think I was hired on the basis of the scrub ladies or the secretary pool. Anyway, I found out about it about midway through my tenure at GM, and I didn't say anything about it because I thought, well, what the heck? I'm working for Generous Motors, and I'm learning something, you know.
Right.
And so I didn't fret. Look, who else would work for the most powerful corporation in the world? You know, Generous Motors. Okay. So anyway. When I went on to industrial design for Sundberg and Farrar, they gave me more money, and they kept increasing my salary almost monthly. They were really nice to me.
So you had a good career there.
I did.
Okay.
They gave me plum jobs. I had wonderful jobs to work on.
That's
And I happened to be very fast, and so they made a lot of money. And on the work that I did, and but they never treated me as somebody different. I was a designer, and I appreciated that so much. And at this last October, Sundberg and Farrar, the business, had an 80th anniversary party at Henry Ford Museum, and so I spoke at that time. Actually, I'm the last one of that era because I started so young, and I could have said anything I wanted because there wasn't anybody to deny what I was saying.
Wow.
And but I said at that time that both those two men, Carl Sundberg and Monty Farrar, was super nice to me and treated me like a designer, not like a woman.
Right.
First of all, woman.
Right. Gotcha. Although you did share a really cute, funny story about kind of getting back at the guys at General Motors.
Well, yes, as I said, they
Please share
tried
that.
to embarrass me, and they were very successful for a while. And they, when you think, we'd been told that men think of sex every 8 seconds. No, car designers about every 3. And so after lunch, several of them would come in, and there was a magazine store down in the basement of the GM building, and they would come in with girly magazines, and they would sit on these great big, these 22-foot drawing tables, huge drawing tables, and they would hunched up and sit on the drawing tables, and they would go through the magazines and look at the magazine pictures, and oh man, look at it, unbelievable, look at this one, look at it. I thought, So one day I stopped by and I got a bodybuilding magazine, and so I hunched up next to them. And I thought, oh man, look at it. That kind of broke it. Bill Dennis, who was head of the interior studios, more or less an engineer, he was so taken. He slapped me on the back. I mean, I went flying off that. And from then on, things were a little different.
You had a rapport with them after that?
Yeah.
Did they have more respect for you after that?
Well, I don't know whether you'd call it respect, but they taunted me less. Because it was fun for them to say something and then watch my face get red. But I got better control too.
Spunky thing back then too, huh?
Yeah, I'm getting better at
You
it.
you held your own.
I had to.
Yeah. You're amazing. You're an amazing person. Well, I appreciate this time you've taken with us.
Sure.
Anything you care to share from your memories of working at General Motors? Anything that stands out?
No, I think probably. Well, I did 2 things insofar as cars go.
Yeah.
I designed the interior for the 1951 Cadillac. It was a red Cadillac. It was the 50th anniversary of the Cadillac. And this red convertible with a red leather interior. I didn't do anything. I just said, put that red in. It was not a change of the it had to be a standard car.
I see.
Okay, off the line. But it was red, with a red interior. That car sat in the entry doors lobby of the GM building for a year because it was the anniversary of the Cadillac. And then I did the interior for the Hopalong Cassidy specialty car. At that time, a movie celebrity or somebody could ask for a special interior, and they would do it. And they were, at the same time, they were doing the Motorama shows for New York, and Wilson, Sloan, those bigwigs, their wives got cars, special interiors, and they stopped that because the wives would say, she has a better interior than I do, It's a lot of backbiting, so they just ended that whole program. But at that time, I did an interior for Hopalong Cassidy car.
Nice.
He kept it for years. I know this because he lived in Palm Desert in California, and I visited my mom in the winter months when I had a vacation, and I saw his car in the driveway of his house.
And the car was, describe the car.
It was a Cadillac.
Cadillac?
Black
Cadillac, okay.
Right, Cassidy. So it was a black Cadillac with a white leather interior and calf fur on the floor.
Oh, yeah.
And little hobnails across the door panel, and the door panel, the grip was aligned with the design on the door panel. It was all one piece. It looked like horns of a longhorn steer, and the map pocket came down, and it looked like the face of a steer. So, and then Sam Cashwan was the sculptor and a very clever man, very nice man. He did a horse and rider in bronze and had it plated, of course, and it was the hood ornament back in the days when you could have a hood ornament.
Right.
So, but that I did that, and I worked on. Other than that, I just did myriad designs for seat. How many different designs can you do for pleats? Because
You mentioned you also worked on the Packard.
Well, that was from Sundberg Farrar. When I worked for Sundberg Farrar,
Okay.
I was contacted by Dick Teague, who knew me from styling because he worked at in the Oldsmobile studio,
Okay.
and he was head of design for Packard, and he knew that I had been in interior, so he contacted me to do the 1955 Caribbean interior. And since I was working for Sundberg and Farrar, I had to go to my boss, and he worked up a plan so that I was allowed to do the seat. And he also, Sundberg and Farrar were scheduled to do some work on the exterior as well. But I did the seat for Dick Teague.
It's beautiful.
Well, he gave me the best compliment I've ever had. This chap, Dick Teague, never gave accolades to anybody. He was focused on his own work. And he said, "That seat is so nice, I wish I had done it myself."
Well, that is a
So I
compliment.
said, nobody's ever given me a nicer compliment than coming from him.
That's a nice compliment.
Yeah.
Wow.
But that was the only automotive thing I did, later on.
Well, you're definitely a lady trailblazer for the rest of us.
I guess so.
Yes, you are. And we thank you so much.
Good.
Thank you.